So I'm sure you can tell from the title of this that this is not really an album review or anything. I just want to talk about one of my favorite bands and the brainchild behind them. I'm speaking of Warlord and the late, great William J. Tsamis. Few bands in heavy metal history have inspired the kind of reverence, mystique, and cult devotion that surrounds Warlord. At the center of this phenomenon was William J. Tsamis, the band's visionary guitarist, composer, spiritual architect. His work, which was melodic, dramatic, and unmistakably epic, helped define a unique corner of American heavy metal that still resonates with fans the world over. Bill Tsamis, as he's mostly known, emerged from the early 1980s LA metal scene with a mission to create a band that fused the grandeur of European heavy metal with the emotional weight of classical composition. Inspired by groups like Angel Witch and Rainbow, Jethro Tull, Tsamis sought to craft music that was not only heavy but mythic in scope. His partnership with drummer Mark Zonder, another key figure in the band's identity, was the spark that ignited Warlord. The two musicians relocated to from San Jose to Los Angeles, determined to build something new and uncompromising. Warlord officially formed in 1980, and their timing couldn't have been better. The Los Angeles heavy metal scene was exploding, and independent labels were hungry for fresh talent. One of those labels was Metal Blade Records, founded by Brian Slagel. Slagel was captivated by Warlord's semi-progressive, European-influenced sound and offered them a spot on his now legendary compilation series, Metal Massacre. Their track, Lucifer's Hammer, appeared on Metal Massacre 2 in 1982 and immediately drew attention. Critics praised the band's dramatic flair, intricate songwriting, and Tsamis's distinct guitar work. Warlord returned from Metal Massacre 3 with Miss Victoria, a personal favorite of mine, further cementing their reputation. From the beginning, Warlord cultivated a sense of mystique. Members adopted mythological pseudonyms like Bill was the Destroyer, while vocalists and other musicians took on names like Damian King and Thunderchild. This theatrical identity set them apart from the glam-leaning bands dominating LA at the time. In 1983, Warlord released their debut EP, Deliver Us, a record that would become one of the most influential cult releases in American metal. The EP showcased Tsamis's signature style, the soaring melodic guitar lines, the dramatic fantasy-infused lyrics, a sense of heroic melancholy, and tight, precise drumming from Mark Thunderchild Zonder. The band's sound was neither traditional heavy metal nor fully power metal. It was something in between, a classical sound all its own. It was a bridge between the eras. Many later European power metal bands cite Warlord as a foundational influence. In 1984, Warlord released a unique hybrid project, a video album and soundtrack titled And the Cannons of Destruction Have Begun. I love this album. It featured stage performances rather than a traditional tour, as the band struggled with lineup instability and logistical challenges. Despite limited commercial exposure, the release, like everything else with Warlord, became a cult classic. Fans were drawn to the band's theatrical presentation and Tsamis's emotional intensity. You could get this on VHS. It has since been re-released on DVD, and I don't think they ever did a Blu-ray for it, but it wouldn't exactly upscale. But I highly recommend, I'm sure that somebody has it on YouTube. It is both amazing and campy. I highly recommend checking it out. And it doesn't sound, listening to the album and viewing the album are two totally different experiences. After disbanding in 1986, Warlord's legend only grew. European fans in particular embraced the band's catalog, treating Deliver Us and Canon as sacred text of underground metal. In that time, Bill had done a couple of different projects. He did Lordian Guard with his then wife. They put out a couple of albums which are incredible. And he did his own little solo stint, this kind of next step after Warlord that it itself kind of came and went without any fanfare, ended up being called Lordian Winds. And they have all these albums, by the way, were out of print for a long time, and High Roller Records has since re-released them with remasters and bonus tracks and all that. Now they're actually Warlord's current label, so I definitely check them out streaming, but if you can get your hands on them, definitely do that. I love Warlord. Anyway, I'll get back on it. Sorry. Tsamis and Zonder reunited Warlord briefly in 2002. Tsamis, like I said, he had been doing those. Mark Zonder actually went on to play in the progressive metal act Fate's Warning. His first album with them was Perfect Symmetry, and he became an integral part of their sound without a shadow of a doubt. The album Rising Out of the Ashes featured Joachim Keynes, I hope I'm saying that right, of Hammerfall on vocals, an artist who had long cited Warlord as a major influence. Even actually on Hammerfall's first album, they do a cover of Child of the Damned. The band returned again in 2011, leading to new recordings, reissues, and eventually the acclaimed 2013, wow, The Holy Empire. Holy cow, love it. Holy Empire, cannot recommend it enough. This record showcased Tsamis' matured compositional style, more symphonic, more spiritual, more introspective. On that, we hear new material from him, just like on Rising Out of the Ashes, where we hear new material, but we also hear material that had existed in Lordian Guard and in Lordian Winds. And in Mark Zonder's words, they warlorded the material. They beefed it up to Warlord standards. William Tsamis passed away in 2021. He left behind a legacy that continues to grow. His death was mourned deeply across the heavy metal community and just hard rock. Anybody who had an appreciation for beautifully composed music, it affected him. And especially among musicians who saw him as a pioneer of not only melodic heavy metal, but the genesis of power metal, emotionally rich heavy metal. He was a one of a kind. In the years since, Warlord has continued to honor his memory. The band's official site highlights ongoing tributes, reissues, and even performances dedicated to Tsamis' work. Tsamis' influence endures because he represented something rare in heavy metal, a composer who treated heavy music as a canvas for myth, philosophy, and emotional storytelling. His work resonates because it blended that sort of fantasy heroism and romanticism, the melancholy of the hero, the searching for solace in your spirit. It feels timeless. It truly does. And rooted in fantasy, yes, but it is deeply human. Today, Warlord stands as one of the most respected cult bands in heavy metal history. Their influence can be heard in European power metal, American progressive metal, epic fantasy-themed bands, modern traditional heavy metal revivalist. A band that came out with an album last year, it was my favorite album of 2025, is Stygian Path, and their album The Lore Keeper. It sounds very original, but most definitely inspired by Bill Tsamis' time in Warlord. You could tell they loved Warlord. Warlord's albums, especially Deliver Us and The Cannons of Destructions Have Begun, plus definitely The Holy Empire, remain essential listening for anyone exploring the deeper veins of heavy metal history. Bill Tsamis was more than a guitarist. He was a storyteller, a visionary myth maker, a composer whose work transcended genre boundaries. Warlord may have never achieved mainstream fame, but their impact, it's undeniable. They remain a testament to the power of artistic conviction and the enduring appeal of epic, emotionally charged heavy metal. And as a guy who has been a fan of them since his teenage years, and I love them to this day, and I think the world of the guys in Warlord, and along with Mark, Giles, and all the other guys who have kept this band going, God bless you, Godspeed, stay the course. Thanks for joining me in this video. I'll see you in the next.